Let's have a closer look at what we learned from the first F1 Grand Prix in 2023. For those who are new to my channel, I worked for McLaren, Force India and Racing Point in their aerodynamic departments, and today I'm a self-employed motorsport consultant. So feel free to contact me if you need help with your project. So basically the race result confirmed what we have seen in preseason testing, which is also no surprise because it happened on the same track. Let's talk about Red Bull first. After their dominating pace in testing, they were struggling with balance issues at the beginning of the race weekend. Rumor is that they had too much plank wear and raised the right height to avoid being disqualified, which disturbed the balance of the car. It was still enough to lock out the front row and win the Grand Prix, but the gap to the competition wasn't as big as we thought after testing. So it's likely Red Bull will work on reducing plank wear now to be able to run the car lower and regain performance. So we should watch the snowplow area and look out for a possibly flexible rear plank area, similar to last year. The regulators adjusted the test requirements in this area, but F1 engineers will find a way if they want to. And we had an impressive performance by Aston Martin. Not only was the car quick on one lap, it was also fast and reliable during the race. The tire degradation was low, the traction was superb, and the drivers thanked the team for a car that is nice to drive. So all in all, we can say that the Aston Martin has a lot of downforce, at all speeds. That results in great traction, which gives the drivers confidence, and they can push the car to the limit. So there are no sudden drops and fast turns. The car is predictable. Because of more downforce, there is less sliding of the tires, which results in less tire wear, and that keeps the long-run pace up and enables longer stints, which helps to plan with different strategies for the race. We will take a closer look at the technical details of the Aston Martin in a separate video and find out why it's so good. Ferrari had, as expected, a strong pace in qualifying. Being good in qualifying also means that they can get the tires up to temperatures quickly. And that is exactly what hurts them in the long runs at the race, the high tire degradation at the rear. Now, this can have three main reasons: engine power delivery, rear downforce, rear suspension setup. The engine mode goes in both directions, so either too much torque too quickly under acceleration or too much regeneration under braking. But since the teams are now in the 10th year with these drivetrains and because Alfa Romeo has less degradation problems with the same engine, it is unlikely this is the cause. The next thing is rear downforce. The Ferrari doesn't really lack that in comparison to the competition, so this is also unlikely. So that leaves the rear suspension setup. And that would also explain why Haas has similar problems with the same rear axle, but the Alfa Romeo has it less. Alfa Romeo decided to design their own gearbox with Ferrari internals because they could produce it much cheaper than the price Ferrari gave for it, and so it's an advantage in a budget cap environment. And that also allowed them to design a pushrod suspension while Ferrari and Haas use pull rods. The rear tire wear can be influenced by toe and track width changes during suspension movement. And now to Mercedes. As expected from testing, they still cannot reach the cars in front, but they have a much better basis than last year. If you want to know more about their problems in 2022, check out my other videos below. This year they have slightly larger side pods and less exposed floor area. This avoids the floor from bending down and sealing it, which would create too much under pressure underneath the car and create bouncing. This year the floor edge also has to be increased by 15 mm, which helps them as well. But Mercedes is the only team now on the grid which uses slim side pods and hopes to keep the front rear wake outside with their upper crest structure shroud, which is a downwashing wing. We could already see in testing that this doesn't work in comparison to the Red Bull, and the dirty front rear wake pulls inside towards the downforce producing parts. Mercedes confirms that the main issue is a lack of rear downforce in high-speed corners, and that confirms the theory that they still cannot keep the front rear wake outboard reliably. The best solution to this is to use large side pods like everybody else, but Mercedes still seems to see a better energy delivery to the back with small side pods. Now that everything is being assessed, it would be a surprise if they don't change to large downwashing side pods or inwashing side pods like the competition. Alfa Romeo showed a good pace and even snatched away the point for the fastest race lap from Gasly by pitting Joe late and giving him soft tires for a quick run. something that could pay off later in the season. Alpine was very unlucky with Ocon's penalties and eventually retired the car to save the engine. But Gasly could score points, which was a great recovery. Williams showed much better pace than expected, and both drivers performed well. AlphaTauri showed some good performance, but didn't score points. Haas was unlucky with Hülkenberg's front wing damage, and unfortunately McLaren became last with Norris being lapped twice and Piastri retiring the car because of electronic issues. The problem on Norris's car was that the car couldn't top up the air bottle for the pneumatic engine systems and hence needed to be filled up by the team every 10 laps, which resulted in 6 pit stops. So McLaren has a real reliability issue, and it looks like these are their own systems. On top of that, they didn't really reach their aero targets and the car lacks performance. Also, while we are looking at the McLaren, we can see that they are the only team to run the Mercedes engine with an air-to-air intercooler, which results in a much larger cooling package overall. So, all in all, we can say that the field is pretty close together and the level very high. Small mistakes in 2023 can easily mean you are at the back of the field, and it looks like we have an interesting season ahead of us. How did you like the first race in 2023? Let me know in the comments below and see you at the next one.